The Catholic Morning Show on Iowa Catholic Radio.
Remember, if you miss any part of today's show or any of our locally produced shows here on Iowa Catholic Radio, visit iowacatholicradio.com and our on-demand page where you can go back and listen, share, laugh with us, pray with us, all the things that we do here as we connect people to Christ and His church on their faith journey. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Let's turn now to our next guest. He is the Director of Social Justice for the Diocese of Des Moines and Catholic Charities, Dr. John Huyhn. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Deacon. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I like the topic that you proposed for today. A little surprised that you didn't want to dive into the Pope's encyclical, but maybe we'll touch upon it in our conversation here this morning.
Yeah, I actually haven't had a chance to read it yet because we just had a newborn about 4 days ago. So
wow, congratulations!
Been busy with that, so yeah, thank you very much.
And this is child number
4.
Number 4.
Yeah.
Well, that's
God be praised.
Yes, well, indeed. And so, well, especially thanks for making time for us to hear this morning because I imagine you got a little time off with paternity leave there. And so making time for us this morning, we're very appreciative. But this topic around the excitement, not only with the encyclical, but coming off of Easter, we just celebrated Pentecost, and the numbers that we saw of people that came into the church sort of broke some of the trends or the myths even that were out there, and that young people are abandoning the faith. And what we've seen in these studies or these results that come out, that it's really young people who are leading the charge of converting. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, that's interesting to me as well. I noted that and been thinking about it. And in fact, right before my segment here, you all were talking about technology advancing in electric cars and things. And I think for a long time, many of us, myself included, assumed that once society became more technologically advanced or became more materially comfortable, that religion would kind of fade away. But I actually think that the human person does not. Of course, our faith says the human person does not work that way. We can distract ourselves for periods of time, but eventually the deeper questions return. Questions like, why am I here? What makes life meaningful? Is there truth? Does anyone really know me for who I am? Am I loved? Those sort of questions never disappear. And because they're rooted in what it means to be human, that's why many young people, I imagine, are inheriting a world that's incredibly connected digitally, but fragmented in a very spiritual and relational way. And so because they have access to, endless information, that doesn't mean that they've inherited a kind of wisdom. And they have all this entertainment, but not necessarily entertainment that gives them a sense of purpose. And so what happens, I think, is that beneath all of this noise, there remains this hunger for transcendence, for something greater, for something that St. Augustine says that we are restless for, and that's God. And I think that's what's driving these young folks towards religion, towards the faith, towards the church.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think there's again speaking about the encyclical that was just released. Really, Pope Leo tries to sort of emphasize this, and I think this is all sort of playing out for us in real time. As technology is one of those things that it can be very useful and it's provided great benefits to culture and society. It does sort of lure us into a false autonomy where we have all this information and we think we can become experts. The problem is we still don't know how to sift through all that information to differentiate the true from the false. But there's something written upon our hearts that calls us to know and be known, and it's the be known aspect that I think that people are drawn to across all demographics, but particularly young people who have grown up in this era. I was just thinking back to my own experience where I didn't even get a cell phone until our firstborn was about to be born, and he's about ready to be 22. I resisted getting a cell phone, but my wife was like, "You got to have it because what if I go into labor while you're at work?" As if there was no other means of communication. But as we look at these advancements from a Catholic perspective, what else are people searching for? Is it this the autonomy, or is it this idea of being known, who they are, what they are, and why they're here?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on. We are essentially relational beings, right? We're created in the image and likeness of God, the triune God, who has always been relational from the very beginning. And so we're made for communion. We're made for love, for truth, for purpose. And I think one of the difficulties of today is that technology can create the illusion of connection while still leaving a lot of people profoundly isolated. One can spend hours interacting online and still feel very lonely and unseen. And as a result of that, when you spend so much time online, I know this, there are many research and books out there, the ancient generation being one of them that I refer to constantly. But identity then becomes tied to comparison, using Instagram and things of that sort. It can become performance, seeking approval online from strangers and things like that. And it becomes very exhausting. And so eventually, many young folks begin asking whether there's something more underneath of all of it. And so from a Catholic perspective, the faith begins really at that junction. Our faith tells us that our worth is not based upon popularity or achievement or appearance or productivity, that our dignity comes from being created and loved by God. And that is a radically different vision of the human person than what modernity really tells us. And frankly, I think many young people are tired of being, performative, tired of curating themselves online, and the pressure of constant approval that they need to somehow draw from their peers online. And so the church at its best is offering something that's quite different, and it offers rootedness, a kind of meaning that's not dependent upon trends. And so this is where I think folks, the young folks especially, are finding community, seeing their value and worth in context of love, of community, and that they're desired for who they are simply as a beloved son or daughter of God.
Well, we talked about the lures of technology, and of course, summer unofficially has begun as kids are getting out of school, and sort of the schedules and the pace of life changes. As we enter into the summer months, talk about how parents with children of all ages, particularly adolescents, who I think there's somewhere around like 99% of them have a device of some sort to occupy them. How can we take some steps to help them discover a deeper sense of purpose rather than simply keeping them busy or entertained this summer?
Yeah, I think one of the inherent dangers, right, of summertime is that it can unintentionally reduce a lot of our the childhood and adolescence summers into constant activity. You go from camp to screens to events, and they just don't have a time to reflect and serve, or just play in general. So I think summer has a serious opportunity that not every moment has to be optimized for entertainment. So one practical thing I think that I've found valuable for us as a family is to continue attending Mass regularly during the summer months. I know that sometimes vacations and things like that can enter, and or sports will increase, and families can unintentionally fall out of that spiritual rhythm. But children notice what adults prioritize. Even imperfection, consistency really matters. And so the regularity of attending Sunday Mass reminds the young people that we're caring for that faith is not merely something we do when it's just convenient, or that it fits in our schedule, but that it's something that anchors our lives. Another practical thing is helping young people encounter realities really beyond themselves. And so serving as a family, volunteering together as a family, visiting people who are lonely, finding time to serve at a food pantry, that can be a very helpful thing. And finally, I don't think that we should underestimate the importance of simply spending intentional time with each other. So having dinners together, putting phones away while that's happening, or putting phones away periodically, talking in the car, asking questions, allowing our children to ask us questions. And we have to listen seriously. I was at CYC yesterday to talk to some of their staff about, how do you engage with the campers when they have questions about their faith? And the first step to that, of course, is giving it a very serious listen, and not engage in a debate, right? Like you want to listen and engage their concern and their inquisitiveness. And so when young people are listened to, they often discover that their concerns are not simply just dismissed, but that it's cared for. And because an adult, is consistently remaining present in their lives and the important questions are answered, they feel that they are loved, and that they matter.
Exactly. No, I love it. With the change of season, provides an opportunity to reconnect in new ways. He's the Director of Social Justice for the Diocese of Des Moines Catholic Charities. Dr. John Huyhn, thanks for joining us here on the Catholic Morning Show. Congratulations again to you and your family, and enjoy your intentional time together as you bond with that new baby.
Thank you, Deacon. Blessings.
Listen to the Catholic Morning Show weekdays at 7 a.m. Central on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network, iowacatholicradio.com, or the Iowa Catholic Radio app.